on FYI. After our investigation on kids vaping, the government is finally taking action by bringing forward a ban on disposable vapes.
And we check out what the top football clubs are doing to make the sport greener. Welcome to FYI, where we bring you the top news stories that matter to you.
Yeah, and the big news this week is that the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has announced the government plans to ban disposable vapes to try and stop people our age from vaping.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the change that needed to happen, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's already illegal to buy or sell vapes to anybody under the age of 18, but that hasn't stopped so many young people from doing it. And that's why last year we launched a big FYI investigation looking into this. And loads of people did agree that these vapes were targeted at young people, with the sweet flavours, the bright colours, and we were shocked at how many young people have got hooked on these vapes because most of them contain a highly addictive substance called nicotine. So how old were you when you first started vaping?
I was 12 in year 8.
So about like 13 years old.
I was 15. Basically all of my friends did it, so I just hung around with them so much that I was like, why not?
We actually sent the government the findings from our investigation and landed an interview with the Prime Minister. Here's what he said at the time.
Recently, I investigated the rising increase in the amount of children that have started to take up vaping. So what are we going to do?
You're right. You know, the adverts for these things are designed to appeal to kids.
Yeah.
You know, with the colours they use, the characters they use. That's not right. This is all things that shouldn't be happening.
So now the government are finally taking action by banning colourful disposable vapes, which they found are the ones most under 18s are getting a hold of. And they're also really bad for the environment. I mean, once people are finished with them, they just end up chucking them away. So Maya, what do you think? Do you reckon this will work?
I think it'll definitely be helpful, but whether it'll completely solve the problem is a different question.
Well, there's talk about limiting the flavours to just 4, and with right now being able to get hundreds, it's got to be a step in the right direction, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And another huge story this week has been about the banning or limiting of social media for under the age of 16.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of see where that's coming from, but personally, I'm not a big fan myself, and I can't imagine many people our age will be either.
Well, don't go to Florida anytime soon then, because they're working on a law that would ban the complete usage of social media for people our age.
Yeah, I heard a similar story over here in the UK where one Conservative politician has suggested to the Prime Minister that under 16 should be banned from using social media or using the smartphones, partly to help with our mental health.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand where the social media aspect comes into play, but banning smartphones as a whole, I don't think that's going to go down well.
I don't think it will either.
Well, we wanted to get your opinion on this. Over to the FYI News Club at Pebblebrook School.
I don't think it should be banned because you learn a lot from social media.
When I see videos of people doing netball, like more girls, it encouraged me to do it more.
Some of it should be restricted because some of it is like inappropriate, but also I think people need it because they share their feelings on that.
Some content should be age restricted, just don't ban the whole lot. If we ban social media, how are we going to talk to our friends?
I think that we should set time limits on social media because some people don't realise how much time they spend on social media because you get so stuck to it.
My mum gets annoyed at me whenever I go over 5 hours.
Obviously on my console, I'll probably spend like 10 hours maybe on it.
What, a day?
Yeah, at least, but not every single day, of course.
Yeah, but with me it's the opposite. I normally spend more time on my phone, like texting or on call, and also just watching videos.
2? Is that a lot? Is that too much?
Because you can set like timers on some apps that like shut you out of the app, and you can do it in the settings on your phone. And like it will shut down every app and you have to use a password to get into it.
Kids, once they're into it, once they're like right into technology, they're like, oh, forget the timer, you know what I mean? Let's play some more. That could end up happening.
Now see what you think about this week's fake news or fact.
This monkey was spotted in a back garden in Scotland helping himself to some bird food. But can that be true?
Find out later in the programme.
So Maya, have you heard of the famous flying Scotsman? It's not a Scottish pilot if that's what you're thinking.
I've heard of it before, but I'm not actually sure what it is.
Well, it's a very special, very old steam engine, and I got to see it in action. Check this out. This is the world-famous steam engine, Flying Scotsman, and it's had a very busy 12 months celebrating its 100th birthday by touring the country, carrying thousands of passengers and even meeting the King. But why is the Flying Scotsman so special? Well, let's go back to the beginning. Built in 1923, the Flying Scotsman brought passengers from London to Edinburgh every day, which is how it got its name. It was the first locomotive to get to a speed of 100 miles per hour and cut the average journey time by more than half. So Clive, you actually know how to operate this, don't you?
Maintain it and operate it, yeah.
Okay, now it's a little bit cheeky, but would it be okay if you could show me inside?
Of course we can. Come on, come with me. We're going to have a look around.
Wow, look at this. There's a lot to it, Clive. What is this room?
We call this the footplate. This is where the crew are, the driver and the fireman.
And it's powered by coal, right? So how much coal does it take to power a steam engine like this one?
Between London and Edinburgh, or Edinburgh back to London, it would burn 9 tons of coal, roughly.
9 tonnes, that's a lot of that. So we're expecting to see Flying Scotsman go into retirement anytime soon?
No, there's no plan to retire it. The intention and the plan is to keep it running as long as possible for the public.
Trains today are pretty different to the Flying Scotsman. Trains in the UK are powered by a mix of electricity and diesel fuel, and the fastest trains can reach speeds of up to 186 miles per hour. But there is something so many people love about the Flying Scotsman, including film directors, poets and writers. It's thought to be the inspiration behind the Hogwarts Express in J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter.
Let's move it then, eh? Do you want to
Really?
flop over?
I'll be ace, let's do it. I'll come round here, I'll get behind you.
Well, before you go there, you're going to blow the whistle.
I'm going to blow the whistle, and that's up here, right?
That's the one.
You ready? That is cool, that. I'm on my way. There was actually somebody working on this 100 years ago, stood like this with his head out the window, like me and Clive now. Unbelievable. This is top. Thanks for this. Brilliant.
Now it's time for one of your favourite subjects, Braden, football. And there's been a lot of big news surrounding it recently, right?
Yeah, Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp has announced that he will be stepping down at the end of the season. And I think this was a shock to all football fans, but particularly sad to Liverpool fans. I mean, he's a club legend. He's won every major trophy possible there is to win with Liverpool. Klopp's like City's Pep, and I mean, if Pep was to leave City, I'd be devastated.
Yeah, that is big news. But did you know that the world's football industry is actually a big contributor to global warming? It's estimated that globally, football produces more than 30 million tonnes of carbon dioxide every year, about the same as the country of Denmark.
And I know that lots of matches get cancelled every year because of things like flooded pitches, and experts say that it'll only get worse with climate change and more extreme weather.
Well, this weekend is Sky's Green Football Weekend, and they're encouraging fans to go greener to help fight climate change, whether that's eating a veggie meal or taking a bus to go watch a game. But what we wanted to know is, are the top clubs doing their part to make the sport greener? I went to one to find out.
Although they employ only around 800 people, with a seating capacity of nearly 63,000, Tottenham Hotspur has the third largest stadium in England.
Now that's a lot of thirsty and hungry fans. I wonder what their waste management looks like. I'm here with the Tottenham legend Ledley King to give me the answers. Hi Ledley, so how much waste is produced in one match and how is this managed?
We actually have zero waste going to landfill and the way we do that is by encouraging fans to recycle. We have the messaging on the bins, the waste is taken to a recovery facility. So yeah, these are ways that we were able to make that happen.
So I'm here at your training centre. What things have you guys done here to make it more sustainable?
Well, we've been fortunate that we've been able to build a new training facility and a new stadium in recent years, and they've both been built with sustainability in mind. So we have things like bat houses, bug hotels, meadows, ponds.
Now, not only have Tottenham Hotspur created great habitats for the natural wildlife here, but the training centre reuses water through boreholes under the pitches, their stadium is powered by 100% renewable energy, and all their food is delivered using electric vehicles with solar-powered fridges.
We realise there's a lot more we can keep doing, and we'll continue to keep working hard.
Amazingly, I was also able to speak with Spurs defender Amy Turner to see what her views were.
For big sporting organisations, why is it important for them to think about the environment?
As sports people and athletes, we have such a big reach. You know, I try and use my voice to to speak about climate change. You know, it's a really important subject, and, you know, I think it's critical at this point. Either we do something or we carry on doing nothing. And I think, yeah, it's important for massive organisations like this to promote that message and to encourage sustainability. I think we all have a responsibility to do that.
Now, going green isn't just for us, but it's for the amazing wildlife that we share the planet with. And we know that some of you are very concerned about the risks that these animals are presented with.
And who better to talk to about the importance of protecting them than wildlife TV presenter and conservationist Chris Packham. First of all, welcome to the studio.
Well, thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very excited to be here.
It's great to have you here. So you've just wrote a book called Superhero Animals, and it's all about what animals do for us and for the planet and what we can do in return to protect them. Now, I was reading through, and one of the pages was about wasps. Now, I know not many people are too fond of wasps, but they're actually quite important, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. I mean, the key thing about the book here is to explain to people that it's not all about the big, you know, dramatic characters in the animal kingdom. It's about the little stuff as well, things like wasps. If they're there because they've got a job to do. And what they actually do is perform a role as an important insect predator. They're feeding on meat. They're collecting meat to feed their grubs. Their own food, they want nectar. That's what brings them to the sweet stuff, your soft drinks, your ice cream, and the stuff that they'll pester you for. But the reason they're important is that they're great for gardeners and farmers, because if they're eating meat, they're controlling other insect pests, things like caterpillars, aphids, all sorts of things. And so if you leave wasp nest alone, you know, you don't need to spray your garden with pesticides because they're doing the job naturally, and that's exactly what we want. So they play an important role. They're a superhero in that sense.
And what about pets? I've heard you're a big fan of dogs who can do some pretty amazing things, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have two poodles, Sid and Nancy, so for me they're sort of companion animals. When I get home tonight, they'll be there, they'll greet me, I'll get down, we'll all have a big cuddle, and I'm going to feel good. But more broadly, they have a phenomenal sense of smell. I mean, we can't even imagine how well they smell. And what we found is that we can train them to pick up on some, you know, diseases that we suffer from. There are dogs that can smell specific cancers. In a conservation sense, we can train them to smell specific animal poo. Now, why would we want to do that? Well, if animals occur at very low density, or if perhaps they're very rare, they can be very difficult to see, but they're always going to leave their poo behind, right? And if the dogs can go out and smell it, that means that the scientists can find it. And poo's really important because it's packed with information. Clearly, firstly, you can look at it to see what the animal's been eating. That's obvious. But these days, we can take DNA from the poo and we can find out which exact individual that was, whether it was a male or a female, whether it's got young, how old it is, and we can even extrapolate to figure out what the populations of those animals are. So training dogs to smell poo is actually a very useful tool. And get this, it's not just poo on land, which would seem obvious, you know. We've actually trained dogs to smell whale poo. So we take them out in boats, they follow the whales about, and then when the dog starts barking, they know that a whale has pooped near the surface of the sea. The scientists speed over there with their bucket, get a sample, and they learn a lot more about whale ecology. And without that knowledge, we can't look after the animals, so they're playing an important role.
This will be a super difficult question for yourself, and you always said you've got two dogs, but what's your favourite wildlife animal?
For me, it's always been about, you know, birds. I love birds. The ones that mean most to me are the ones that are in my garden, because I can help look after them. I can leave a little patch of the garden wild. I get very excited when I see a new species of bird in my garden. I saw one on Sunday for the first time, and immediately I was on the phone to my mate saying, guess what I've just had in my garden? A lesser spotted woodpecker. The lesser spotted woodpecker is a tiny little bird. It's only about this big, and it flits around right in the tops of trees. When I was your age, it was a lot commoner. It's gone through a very serious decline. So to have one of those in my garden, look, I'm still really buzzing. I'm really excited about it.
I know for me, and lots of people the same age as me, climate change often seems like a very big, overwhelming problem. But what are some of the little things that we can do?
The key thing I always say is that the vast majority of young people in the UK are in control of what they eat. You can choose to be more environmentally friendly every time you eat and drink. And that includes not just the food, but the packaging, how far it's been transported, all of those sorts of things. And we know full well that we have to move towards a more plant-based diet. I'm not telling you or any of your viewers that they have to give up meat, but by eating less meat, you'll be making an instantaneous difference.
Well, there's loads of great tips there that I'm sure the viewers at home can take from this as well. But thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the invite.
So did you guess this week's fake news or fact? Well, this video of a monkey in someone's back garden in Scotland is fact.
The cheeky monkey escaped from the Highland Wildlife Park and was spotted helping itself to nuts in a bird feeder. Don't worry though, because the monkey's now safely back at the wildlife park.
Well, that must have been quite the shock.
Yeah, I bet it was. Well, that's about it from us this week, but we'll catch you next week for all the latest info.
Bye.